Hi, my name is John Roars. Today I'll be reading a story from the book The Spy at Jacob's Ladder and Other Bible Stories from the Inside Out, written by Lindsay Harden Freeman and published by Forward Movement. It is used with permission. If you'd like to support the ministry of Forward Movement, the book is available at forwardmovement.org. Jesus, master of wind, waves, and fear, as told by Gordy, the fishing boat. There I was on the beach, stretched out like a tomcat with a full meal in his belly. Good thing, too, for dark and angry storm clouds had been moving in all day. It didn't matter now, though. I was in for the night. No moon, no stars, just surging chaos out on the waves. In case you hadn't guessed, I'm a fishing boat on the Sea of Galilee. Nothing fancy. My friends just call me Gordy. I'm what you might call a renter. Different fishermen take me out onto the water. I got stranded on the beach about a year ago after my owner, Simon, left for a different line of work. I don't know if I will ever see him again. I miss him terribly, but there's not much I can do about it. He was hot on the trail of a man they called Jesus. The day Simon left was the craziest thing I ever saw. We had just come into shore after fishing all night. We hadn't caught a dang thing, and we were tired, dirty, and grouchy. Simon was washing himself off in the water like fishermen do. Next thing I knew, a guy named Jesus came along and asked Simon and me to take him out in the water about 20 feet. It turned out he had dozens of people on his heels crowding him. But Jesus didn't want to get away from them. He just wanted a place where they could see him and hear him talk about God. I thought Simon would ignore him. That's what I was doing. After all, we were both ready to sleep. Besides, talking about God, this was a beach, not a synagogue. But Simon had a heart, a huge heart. That was part of why I always loved him. More than once, I'd seen Simon jump in the water to save people who thought they could swim but couldn't. And almost every day, I witnessed him pulling baby fish out of the net so they could swim away and grow up. The next thing I knew, I was back in the water. What was going on? Kids ran along the beach. Some people sat with their feet in the water. Others stood there nodding their heads and occasionally laughing. They weren't laughing at Jesus, but with him. There was something about that Jesus that just made everyone feel happy. And the crowd grew and grew. Soon, about 100 people crowded the beach to listen to Jesus. He talked about God and about love, about how he was there in the beginning and when the world was made, about how God knows us down to our very bones, or our sterns and bows, as the case may be. Well, I could tell that Simon was listening. He was sitting where he always does in the back of the boat with his hand on the rudder. And I guess Jesus saw something special about Simon, too. When we were back on the shore, Jesus pulled Simon aside. "Come with me," Jesus said. "I could use your help. You catch fish right now, but I will show you how to catch people." And that was it. My strong, rugged friend with whom I had weathered so many storms suddenly had a new job. Simon washed me out, caulked over a couple thin places, and dragged me over to his fisherman friends. His eyes red, but his voice strong, he said simply, "Take care of Gordy. He's a good boat." And then Simon was gone. I heard from another boat family down the shore, the Zebedees, that their sons, James and John, had gone with Jesus too. I stayed on my own for about a year, and I was rented out to other fishermen most days. Life wasn't so bad. I could have been left to rot or torn into firewood or crashed along the rocks. At least I was safe in the waters I knew well. But one night, the mist was blowing off the waves and wrapped around me like a cold, dead fish. And talk about a lack of visibility. It was so foggy I couldn't see a thing on land or sea. It was not a fit night for men or boat. But apparently, some people decided to brave the storm. I heard muffled voices coming toward me on the beach. Who would be out on a night like this, I wondered. We need to cross to the other side, said one man. Are you kidding me? Exclaimed another. It's dark out there and stormy. It's too dangerous. Let's wait until morning, said a third. Good idea, I thought. You should definitely wait till morning. It is way too dangerous. But the man who had spoken first was insistent. It's time, he said, with a voice that sounded like his expectation was to be followed. Find a boat. We're going. I snuggled down in the sand, secure in the knowledge that even if they went out, I would be safe. They wouldn't want old me. They would take one of the newer, sleeker boats. I'm not exactly what you call waterproof anymore. Well, human feet lingered around my shinier boat friends. Not those, said one of the men. Not any of those. Huh. Something about that voice sounded familiar. Nope, not that one, the voice said, growing closer. And then the feet stopped in front of me, slightly apart, the way fishermen stand. Something about those sandals. I knew I'd seen them before. Gordy, is that you? Remember me? No, it couldn't be. Simon? I've missed you, buddy, and I could really need your help. It was Simon. He had lost some weight and wasn't quite as brawny as I remembered, but he was the same man. He had the same strong arms that had hauled me in and out of the water for years. If I could have jumped up and thrown my sails around him, I would have. I have our boat, Simon yelled. This one will keep us safe. Well, at that moment, I could have cared less about the storm blowing in. All I wanted was to be with my old friend. Well, 13 men squeezed on board, including the man they called Jesus, and off we went toward the other side of the lake. It was really crazy, I know, but when someone you love calls you to do something, to be a part of something, well, you say yes. You might not get that chance again. Well, it wasn't long before I started regretting my decision. Water was pouring over my sides, and the waves were like headstrong camels tossing us up and down, up and down. Several of the men threw up over the side. My sails were soon pulled down. The men rowed as if their lives depended on it, because they did. The only one who seemed to not be paying attention was Jesus. There he was, asleep in the back of the boat, like he didn't have a care in the world. Wake him up, shouted one of the men. Another cried, Jesus, don't you care if we live or die? Jesus' eyes fluttered open, and slowly he came to his feet. I don't know how he stood and kept his balance, but he did, and he reached out his hand toward the sea. Quiet, he said. Settle down. At once, the wind and the water obeyed. The lake stood still. The water became like glass, and the wind dropped to a whisper. Stars came out from their hiding places, and a crescent moon appeared. I could have sworn the moonlight reached down and surrounded Jesus like a hug. Don't be such cowards, said Jesus, looking at the men. Don't you have any faith? Have courage, my friends. Wow. In all my years on this great big lake, I had experienced a lot of storms, but I have never seen anyone control the weather. We sailed to the other side of the lake after that, arriving just as the sun rose. By the time we landed, I learned that Simon had been given a new name by Jesus. He was called Peter, which means rock, and he was Jesus's first mate. I also discovered something important about Jesus. The master of wind and waves and fear, well, Jesus was God's man for sure. I've been doing my part ever since that night, carrying Peter and Jesus and all the others over every lake in Galilee. We don't look for fish anymore. We look for people. People who are scared or sick or anyone who makes room for Jesus in their hearts. And I'll tell you what, it's the best job I have ever had. This story is based on scripture readings from Mark chapter 4, verses 35 to 41. The author of the story offers us some questions to consider. You can think about these and then talk about them at home with your family. Why do you think Jesus was sleeping when everyone else was scared and afraid they would drown? What helped him to stay so relaxed? What do you think it felt like to see Jesus calm the winds and the water so quickly? How would you have felt if it made your boat almost capsize and then in an instant Jesus made everything settle down? How would that make you feel? Have you ever been in a boat or a plane or a train and felt scared? Ask your parents how they call on God when they feel scared. What helps them and then what helps you? I wonder what other thoughts or questions you have about this story. What it makes you think about God and about Jesus and about yourself. Thanks for joining us today. Portions read from The Spy at Jacob's Ladder and other Bible stories from the inside out are copyright material from Forward Movement. All rights reserved, used by permission. The book is available at www.forwardmovement.org.